Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm Garrett Weinzerl, and sitting here with me is Kyle Ferguson. Kyle, never in the history of this show has the line, "Let the battle begin," had more meaning than it does for me today.
I'm glad you could make it, man. It's nice to not be alone here. Thank you, everyone who called in last episode. I had a great time. I'm glad I could cover for you, but it's great to have you back in any capacity.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're listening and wondering what the hell's wrong with my voice, I have had a severe throat infection that I've been battling for over a week now. Started as the flu, which was awful, but then when the flu went away, this lovely sore throat stayed. Didn't want to go away. So
that's a bit of a hazard in the occupation you now possess.
Yeah, it really sucks. Anyway, so this is what I sound like today. We're going to do my best. Kyle, you'll probably be doing a little more talking than usual, although compared to last week's amazing episode that you killed it, by the way, man.
Oh, thank you.
We'll give you a break from doing all the talking.
Sounds good. Well, I'm happy to have you in any capacity, and we got some awesome notes and balance updates this week, as well as our surprise from this morning, a skin coming down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get right into it. This week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
I bet you would, Kael'thas. So we got another balance update, which went live yesterday. And Falstad, still getting tweaked.
Yeah, this is an interesting case, isn't it? Because Falstad ain't got no problems. Plenty of pro play, plenty of Mighty Gus making sweet plays across all games and all leagues, and so they decide to basically buff everything but his auto attack build, which is already rather fantastic. So
right.
They decide to give a little bit of power to the Hammerang, Lightning Rod, and Barrel Roll talent, which nobody takes anyway.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, they all got pretty sizably buffed. I mean, Gathering Storm had the damage that you gain per hero hit doubled. Went from 1 to 2.
Yeah, interesting for them to buff a level 1 talent. I mean, this is up against Seasoned Marksman. And the playstyle right now for a good Falstad is basically participate in the team fight. Good. Did you win? Awesome. Fly away. Go soak a lane. And so Seasoned Marksman has a very real place and actually informs the playstyle that Falstad should be using. So I guess it needs a little bit of love. I've seen a couple of odd builds evolve out of this, involving, taking those talents that reduce your cooldown so you can get out as many Hammerangs as possible and build that up to be pretty massive by the late game.
Yeah. So it's pretty much what the devs were saying is, that they're happy where Falstad currently is, especially in the pro scene, but that they want to see some build diversity. So they're pumping up talents that aren't getting used. So that's exactly what's going on here with him.
Which makes sense for Gathering Storm, but Boomerang is already a really good ability and just got another 25 points of damage to it base. And the damage radius, well, is now increased by 25%. So still pretty darn fantastic.
Yeah, so why do you think that one specific talent? Because you're right, that's the only one that kind of sticks out from what the devs are saying here.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know why they encourage that talent. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, we're not trying to trick people. It's not like we're putting an extra 1% into his Vampiric Assault, which I don't want to see anyone taking. In my opinion, Boomerang was already pretty darn popular. Granted, you had Secret Weapon. So Secret Weapon, if you were doing the auto attack build, was what you would go with that Seasoned Marksman. Throw it out nice and far. Power Throw sends it out further at level 4 so that you get more auto attacks while it's out. Secret Weapon. So by enhancing Boomerang, they're encouraging the actual sort of mage Falstad build that can exist now with Gathering Storm.
Cool.
However, I thought it was a great choice. If you have single targets you want to be killing, great. Secret Weapon it up. You took Falstad late in the draft. You understand what you're going to be killing, one target only. And if you got into a game, you early pick Falstad, and you know you need some area effect damage, you could take Boomerang. So, interesting. He now is definitely a lot like Vol in the fact that he has decided at level 1 what kind of spec he's going to be into the late game.
Now, Greymane got some changes as well. His basic attack damage went up. However, the damage on Gilnean Cocktail went down. His primary target damage has been reduced, and the splash damage has also been reduced. The developer said that his Cocktail build has been dominant since the last round of buffs to the ability, so that they're aiming to nerf it slightly so that it isn't always the correct choice. They also said that they're compensating by slightly improving his basic attack build.
Which is a nice give and take. Gilneas Cocktail is seeing all the pro play right now. It's extremely safe, and if you think about it in the same terms as Diablo and definitely Abathur when we get to his notes as well, the reason why you invest all your points into a single ability like this on a character is because the ability doesn't make sense with what you want to do with the character. Think of Diablo. You have that flame stomp where the fire goes out in different directions, mostly dodgeable, pretty useless, maybe a little bit of lane clear, but mostly you'll probably burn your mana before you actually get to the objective, which you'll need the mana for. So you pump most of your talents into the Flame Stomp so that it can be decent later on and is actually a useful ability. Same with Gilneas Cocktail, right? A nice little bit of damage, but for the most part, the way the pros are playing Greymane right now is really cool to see, but I can see why Blizzard doesn't want it. They chuck the Cocktail, it flies through the air, and as it hits that poor Brightwing in the face, he leaps at the same time and takes her down, leaping in with Dark Flight, and then leaping again with Go for the Throat, and just destroying with this huge burst damage.
It's pretty gross to see when it's pulled off correctly.
And it's safe. And I guess they want a little bit more risk-taking on the Greymanes, which is why they encourage the basic attacks now up by 7 points, so neat.
Yeah. Li-Ming got some changes. Magic missiles now only deal 50% damage against structures. This is a change we knew was going to come at some point. Maybe not this specific change, but a change to her siege damage because it's ridiculous.
Right, and we've seen this before on Leoric and other characters, Roxar as well. They'll just go ahead and knock out any sort of bonus damage to structures on someone who doesn't really need it. And this is fine. Mirror Ball also got affected, now increasing the mana cost of magic missiles by 5. So that is a little more expensive, but 25 mana to shoot 5 missiles, nobody's complaining about that. And actually, Mirror Ball still burns through structures just fine. It's, half the damage for sure, but it still looks good. And that 3 level up Li Ming burning down your towers isn't going to feel any worse.
Well, that's a personal problem.
Fireflies also got adjusted, reducing the mana cost of Magic Missile to encourage that play a bit. But again, late game Li Ming, not too many mana problems.
Yeah. Let's talk about this Disintegrate change. Temporal Flux, the level 20 talent that most Li Mings take, has had its slow reduced. The slow was previously 60%. It is now a 40% slow. It's a pretty big chip off of that ability.
We're still above 20%, which is kind of my cutoff for a slow being slightly useless. So 40% still going to feel pretty good. 60% was insane. I felt like the world was nuts when I found this level 20 and just started taking it all the time. And everyone's like, no, Tal Rasha's all... And no, like, seriously, I'm taking objective. Let me just waggle my beam in the direction of anyone who might be coming down this way, and we'll steal this thing, no problem. And I love what the devs had to say. As for Temporal Flux, ... Well, let's just say we were in love with Li Ming, overwhelmingly powerful at level 20, and we misjudged how demoralizing 60% slow could be to play against. Obviously.
When its cooldown constantly reset. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
It's pretty brutal.
Also, I think Waggle the Beam may be today's episode title.
Sure, go for it.
You beam waggling... It's all beam waggling Kyle Ferguson coming down the street there.
Hey, sadly, I've never been in the situation yet. Nova got nerfed right as Li Ming was coming out. I have not yet to just spin wildly, hoping to hit stealthies in the area.
Let's talk about Vala, who got some buffs. I'm really excited about Vala. So her basic attack damage was increased. Her hatred trait, the basic attack damage gained per hatred stack, has been increased. the hatred stacks gain per ability cast has been increased from 3 to 4 on her punishment talent. And the damage bonus of Manticore has gone up from 50 to 60%.
I love hearing your voice here, other than the sick part. But the excitement in your voice that can come through is awesome.
I'm trying.
No, seriously, dude. Like, most Valas right now are looking at this and going, why'd you kill her? Why'd you ruin Vala? Because of multi-shot. Damage reduced from 164 to 148. Right now, everyone's using a multi-shot build. Rule number 1 of playing a MOBA, don't die. So increasing the power of not dying with your very limited mana pool is a good choice for all Valas. It's the only build she's really seeing professionally right now. And I'm excited that someone who, like you, who plays Vala as an auto-attacker can walk away from this change with quite a few buffs.
Vala was Vala was the first assassin I really gravitated towards, and doing the Manticore build, the auto attack build, was what I originally fell in love with, and it's what I really like about Vala. I'm not that miffed about the multi-shot change. Vala has a lot. I think Vala has a lot of very viable builds.
Odd for them to enhance caltrops. I feel like this is a bit of a trap talent because you lay a bunch of things that people have to mess up in order to take advantage of. Yeah. I don't like any sort of build through StarCraft or any video game that requires other players to be bad in order to succeed. And if someone's chasing you and you vault away and they walk on all your caltrops, that's their fault. Unless it's Overwatch, right? Everyone's new at Overwatch. You can just sit in the corner and play Bastion all day and it's fun.
It's a little different there. It's a little different.
Right.
Her Reign of Vengeance also got a big damage boost, which I like, actually. I was in Quick Match earlier, finally trying out Mr. Zool before the show, and I was watching Reign of Vengeance just own fools. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a thing of absolute beauty. I haven't seen someone die to Reign of Vengeance, and I just saw it in a Quick Match before the show.
Well, let's be fair. Plenty of people, when the game came out, died to Reign of Vengeance. I was going, what is this thing? I'll run away from it in a straight line. But nowadays, at a 90-second cooldown, Reign of Vengeance was a little underwhelming. And 100 extra damage on that guy, and no change to its cooldown timer.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm personally excited. We'll see how this change kind of pans out in the long term. But I dig it, and I think Multishot will be fine.
Yeah, Multishot will be fine. You're getting the slow at higher levels, so that's really what you're going into it for, and the safety with the grenades and everything. She's still horribly held back by mana, which stinks.
Yes. It's funny. As I've been completely out of the loop. I haven't had the energy to sit upright, let alone play a game. So today's the first day that I played Zool. Now, you remember, I'm not crazy, right? When they announced Li Ming, when they announced Zool, when they were talking about Li Ming, they were like, oh, we just really want her to be limited by her mana pool. Feels like Zool's more limited by his mana pool than Li Ming is.
Oh, my good. What spec are you doing that you're running out of mana on Zool?
Oh, I don't know the name of it.
Oh, well, sure. But he's rather giving.
Okay.
You can go a little ham and end up blowing too much mana, but with a little bit of, in reserves, you'll be just fine. I think compared to Vala and even a older version of Kerrigan, now we've kind of figured it out with the leap and you can get the mana back on that. But still, Vala, if you mess up that, particularly if you do a Hungering Arrow build, if you mess up your sweet Hungering Arrow, Vault, Hungering Arrow, you're out of mana.
It's over. Sorry, you can't help us.
Nice job.
Yeah, no, it feels bad. Anyway, all right, cool. Well, I'm okay. Hopefully, I'm just playing him wrong then. And chances are probably because I had a lot of deaths. We still won, but I had a lot of deaths.
Hey, whoa, spin that for people, right? Say, I survived so long, I ran out of mana. I was too good as Zool when I had mana problems.
I see it. I like it, Kyle. We should put you in marketing.
It's a marketing practice, playing heroes.
Yeah.
Don't, like I've said before, don't complain about your lag. I don't want to hear that. No one on your team cares. If you suck, own it up. Be cool. Whoops. Say whoops.
Whoops.
Yeah, just oops. And then we'll go, he got caught out. It happens to everybody. Everyone dies. Everyone gives first blood once in a while. Just oops. Lag.
No, just tubes. Just tubes. Abathur, I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on this. His shield amount on Carapace got increased. And Toxic Nest, specifically Vile Nest talent, had its slow amount decreased and its slow duration reduced.
So, Abathur. He's been in the conversations for a while now about these Toxic Nests. They are toxic, right? They're no fun. Most MOBAs have some sort of mind-laying character, and they all suck. They're all great, right? They get kills, but they suck to play against. You're just walking along one day and suddenly you're dead.
Yep.
That's not a fun mechanic. Heroes has mounts in the game, though, that make something like a hidden nest like this even more detrimental because you get dismounted. You're walking along, you're riding to the objective, and not only do you lose that 40% movement speed you had on your mount, but then your physical body is slowed by an additional 40% now at that with the current balance that's been given. It's a lot like we were just talking about with that Diablo earlier. Nests, the little mines, they don't do much. They're not a good talent. And so they keep putting all this attention into Symbiote, hoping to make Abathur better, when in fact one of his key abilities, Mine, still requires all the talents because it needs to be brought up to the level of Symbiote and things like that. So what do? I think you just get rid of the slow altogether. Just kill the talent. It's cool. I like it. I love the idea of the battle control. It's not a fun talent to play against. There might not be enough counterplay options with just really Tassadar and Clairvoyance. I mean, Wisp doesn't give any invisibility sight, and that leaves you got the Clairvoyance offshoots like the Brightwing Pinkaboo and whatever the one Monk does when he dashes. But that's about it.
Are you happy with this change?
To bring it back down? Yeah, I like that it's coming down. I love that Carapace has more shields. I love the fact that Abathur can make very real choices in quick match for the most part. But right now, it is the Mine build 24/7 from 4 and 7. And then at, the higher levels, you end up going with the Locust build for the late game push power and the XP. Level 1 is still a bit of a choice, but level 7 and 4, just it's Mines all the time. And I don't know if you can stop that unless you take away the slow entirely.
Well, let's talk about Zagara then. Let's move on from Abathur. Hunter Killer had its health cut down somewhat dramatically. It was 554, it is now 471, but it now scales faster.
Which is big, because this has sort of been a feature of Zagara this whole time, that she's really powerful in the early game and then slowly loses that power. And now we've gotten a tiny bit of it back, 3.5% instead of the old 3.
Yeah. But still, out of the gate, Hunter Killer going to be a lot easier to deal with.
Sure. I think for the most part, we'll see people still just run back behind the gate. If you don't immediately target that Hydra the second it's on you, it will do the majority of its damage, even attacking it. Kind of like pufferfish in that way. You got that tiny, tiny little window to react. If you don't, just abandon the area.
Yeah. Also, Devouring Maw. It's been moved up to a full 120 seconds. A 2-minute cooldown on Devouring Maw. I'm not surprised about this in the least, really.
It's being used as the alternative version of Void Prison right now, and allowing for a lot of crazy play, allowing for Cho'Gall play in some situations, and Clutch Maws win games, so I'm perfectly cool with it going up. This does take Zagara further away from me, though, on a personal roster level, because I don't like that pressure of having to land a Clutch Maw all the time. And now with another 20 seconds on it, they have to be clutch.
Yeah, they do. Though, it's not like the team can't react to a poor Maw. You could just not engage and wait 2 minutes.
Sure. The thing about Void Prison is that you can come from behind and other angles as well. With Maw, you're limited by your creep because you move slower when you're off it. So there's a very real chance you won't be able to make it to the back line to actually lock down what you want to destroy. You can get the front line, but then you still got to get all the way to the back. So Maw has always just been in a really weird place in my opinion. I think it's an amazing ability. It brings so much potential to a team fight, but her kit just doesn't really work with it. And that's the cool thing about it. It's that it makes up for all this siege damage that she has by giving her team fight ability. I just want to see an alternative. I want Nidus Network to be good, or whatever it's replaced with.
I'm right there with you. Karazim, Breath of Heaven, had the heal amount increased. However, the Echo of Heaven talent had its second wave heal, had it decreased from 50% to 35%. Dev said that the Echo of Heaven talent is contributing too much overall to Karazim's healing. So they decided to nerf the talent in that regard. But since they're buffing his base heal, that if you still go this build, you should still be outputting about the same amount of healing. They just want to free up the talent options on that tier.
Which is great. This is really cool for aggressive Karazims because now your base heal is healing more. Echoes of Heaven is an auto pick as a solo support. Karazim probably still will be. No reason not to take the thing that actually gives more healing. A bit of a frustrating talent for non-voice comm teams, as people may not be in the know. You hit level 7, you want everyone to suddenly hug you, so they hang out for that second heal, and they all just kind of, they all start walking away. And so you use your Radiant Dash to catch up to them, and then you're down a Radiant Dash for the fight that breaks out. At any rate, if Karazim is the secondary support, now he has a very real chance of going Iron Fists, and gets to avoid Echoes of Heaven, which is up against Way of 100 Fists. Probably one of my favorite talents in the whole game. Because it's so satisfying. The sound effect, anyway. As you punch him in the face.
Yeah.
And it's also up against Cleanse. So, hey, more opportunities to take Cleanse.
Cheesy Bob in the chat room saying the math has been done and this is actually a buff overall to his healing.
Great. That's perfect. I like it. He could use it.
What do you think of all of these Artanis changes?
Yes, Artanis.
As our resident Artanis champion.
Oh, I would say maybe an action figure on the shelf, but by no means a shrine. There are some Artanises in this world who reached out to me as well, looking for a bit of therapy yesterday, as we're all pretty disappointed that, the Zealot charge didn't get baked in. We all just wanted the Blade Dash to be something else. When we get down to it, Blizzard has a different vision of what we thought Artanis should be. And we saw Artanis to the exact degree I think we all wanted in StarCraft 2. Charge ahead, explode, big ol' shields, dies once, comes back, shields, awesome, keeps on fighting, killing Zelnaga and stuff like that. Brave, and his personality too. First one to the fight, charge, glorious battle, and then he exits back the way he came with Blade Dash. And so something's a disconnect in the fantasy there. But what they did is actually make Artanis an extremely viable solo tank against certain comps. His health was increased by about 100 points, 90 points total there. That's pretty awesome. Health regeneration increased. Sure, that helps out. Might squeeze in a survivability somewhere. I always wonder that on my WoW troll, what I've survived with 10% increased regeneration. The shield overload ability. There's still a couple of trap talents in here that they're making look better. Shield battery. Cooldown reduction increased from 6 to 8 seconds. This is when your shield expires and it reduces its own cooldown. Why would you want your shield to expire? You're in combat the whole time. Probably not a very good talent to pick. But Shield Surge at level 16 had its bonus amount increased from 50% to 100%. They doubled the shield burst that you get out of this talent, and it is fantastic. It is crazy the amount of just tank ability that you have here. So, ignore all the other talents, right? It's a real big bummer for Artanis players out there. Triple Strike, a talent that everybody took. You get 3 attacks instead of 2 on your Twin Blades, but they now increase the cooldown of that ability when you take that talent by 1 second. Huge bummer for them. For someone who is more for funsy Artanis like me, I'm not using it all that frequently. I mess up my cooldown rotation, and 1 second on it doesn't affect me. In fact, this talent is still great in my opinion. Amateur opponent got a buff as well. Non-heroic targets take increased damage from your blades equal to 150% instead of the old 100%, which is pretty darn cool. You can burn through some towers. It's all non-heroic enemies, towers, immortals on Battlefield of Eternity, all that cool stuff. Phase Prism talents got toyed around with, but they've never been that good. Really, they've made Artanis a solo tank. We all want him to be the sticky, dashy, zoo kind of guy like he is in our minds of the zealot charging abilities. But if you're going up against Illidan, Vala, and Falstad, that is the 3 damage dealers you're going up against to our team. Why did they not pick a burst? Who knows? Maybe, they'll make up for it with a Falstad or Vala change, change in their specs to fill those roles. But those 3 guys, if they're flipping all over you, doing lots of tiny attacks, Artanis will destroy them. You'll have great damage, and you will tank it up. So don't despair, Artanises, because this is a great change for you guys.
Yeah.
And really, do you want that? Is that what you want Artanis to look like? Because to me, when I hit level 16 and I take Zealot Charge, I'm just asking for trouble. Because I'm about to charge in a random ass direction. That thing is so hard to control. Like, in our minds, what we all really want is Zealot Charge on W. You hit the button, you click who you want to charge, and you dive at them and slice them up. But in the reality of it right now, you'll probably misclick and dive something next to them.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Artanis players.
Yeah, the fantasy is a little broken, and that's a shame. But very real place. I'm dead serious about that as a solo tank against those sort of small but quick comps.
Finally, let's talk about one more warrior before we move out of the balance update. Sonya, Wrath of the Berserker. The cooldown has been increased from 45 to 60 seconds. The devs said that much of the skill involved in using Wrath of the Berserker is keeping the buff up as long as possible, and that right now it's available too frequently. And I agree with that.
I don't think this is going to stop them from having it up all the time.
I don't think so either.
Most Wrath of the Berserkers overshoot their berserking by quite a bit. So 15 seconds will not affect that. It's a go-to talent. We see Leap in other styles of play, but certainly not the pros. This is just too darn good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm at least there's enough of a window where if you can counterplay the Sonya to the point where they fall out of it, you're at least rewarded for it, as opposed to them just immediately jumping back into it. But I agree with you. 15 seconds, I don't think is going to make or break this.
No, and it shouldn't be 100 seconds. I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. And for her to accomplish what she's going to do, she needs Wrath of Berserker to keep on going. Again, sad to see such a small tweak on Sonya when these Artanis players are basically saying, I want to be Sonya. I just want to be Protoss doing what she does.
Yeah. Well, that does it for the balance update. Let's talk about what's coming down the pipeline. Tracer got leaked.
Yeah, and actually leaked. Not a full press release kind of leak, like someone accidentally messed up kind of leaked.
No, like somehow someone got an early edition of Game Informer, which has a rundown on Tracer. So we were looking at like photos of a magazine. Man, this feels old school. I love it. It's like, yeah, this is back in the day when we had tangible physical items that could get leaked.
Man, planes have always sucked. Traveling, gross. Something about the human body hates that. But at least there was magazines in the past that were interesting. Nowadays, I walk in there, I'm thinking, maybe I'll get a magazine for this flight. That sounds good. They always tell me to turn off my electronics anyway. And then I look at the magazines, and I know everything. I've seen this all on the internet. Interview with new game dev. No, I've read it. I've already read it.
I've been there. What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, no.
I've seen those pictures.
Yeah, that's hysterical. Well, we now know quite a bit about Tracer. She's going to be able to attack while moving. Sorry, Tychus, you're not a special snowflake.
Maybe. We'll see.
We will see, won't we? Yeah. She doesn't have a mana bar. She has an ammo and a reload mechanic.
Should be interesting.
I'm curious to see how that's going to play out.
I would assume it's on R.
I would too.
Nice?
Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up because I was thinking, I'm like, is she just like not going to have a heroic and we're just going to have reload on R? Because if it's on anything else, it's going to feel weird.
I guess we put those on D when we have them, but it could be the 1 button. I wish they have a little bit of consistency with that, actually.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because Tyrande uses D, right, for Hunter's Mark?
Yes.
And then we have Zool with his Bone Prison and his trait that doesn't have a button on it. Weird stuff.
Right. Well, I think that's because your trait will always be in the D slot, whether it's an active trait or not. That's just where the trait goes. So that's why on Zool, that's why he's put out that way. His skeletons is his trait, so it's represented in that D hexagon.
Right, it would look ugly, wouldn't it? Summon skeletons when a lane minion dies, blah, 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 blah. Also, if you activate it, you get a completely different ability that has nothing to do with this one.
Right, exactly. They called Zool's Bone Prison an extra ability. So
yeah.
I think it's fine. I think it makes sense for Zool. So she's going to be a highly mobile ranged assassin that can be built out with her talents to become either more of a glass cannon or a persistent poker or a CC specialist.
Yes. And in particular, they highlighted 2 talents that are coming down the line. Leeching rounds, which we can assume is some sort of self-heal. Or also talents that focus on melee punishment. And they actually brought up that she has a melee ability. A slap of some kind.
Makes sense.
Pistol whip.
I get most of my kills by emptying my my magazine and then smacking them.
Sure. That's the Metro Smacks. Real disappointing, though.
I'm sorry. Can't help you there.
She should have a Zealot Blade.
Oh, that would be dope. Anyways, we're getting off topic a bit. So she will have blink. It sounds like it'll have 3 charges because it says that she can triple blink into an engagement. She can drop off her pulse bomb, fire off some rounds, and then recall back, just like she does in frickin' Overwatch. This is gonna be insane.
Yep, and she will heal that damage she took if the timing is good on the recall. Not an unknown thing for MOBAs. You know, we have characters like this already, but that's an ultimate ability. And this is not. This is a basic ability. I'd expect it to be on E, as that's usually our survivability call. But then Pulse Bomb is actually a ultimate from level 1. At level 10, you will choose what augment you want to the Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, excuse me. Sorry, had a bit of a coughing fit. Yeah, you're gonna be able to augment it, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised how 1-to-1 all of this is.
If we figured that she has some sort of probably like a lock-on fire, move around Phoenix, and I'm talking like the StarCraft 2 Phoenix flying unit kind of style movement, a lot like Tychus, but more of a permanency kind of thing. Then we give her some sort of melee slap, the recall, and the bomb. It makes sense that she needs that bomb to sort of fill her out. And looks like the choices at level 10 will be between radius increase or slowing. Or boost to single. Actually, no, those 2 go together. And then the other option would be single target damage. Wow, looks like we may even have 3 different level 10s for her. Which would make sense. I mean, you might as well just augment the heck out of the ability.
Yeah. Yeah, so the way she works at 10, you're not getting a new ability, you're augmenting your already pre-existing kit.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool. I agree.
Because that was one of the things I was thinking of. I'm like, well, she actually, like, going into this, I'm like, any Overwatch hero, how are you going to approach that? Because they all have 1 heroic already. So do you not go 1-to-1 with the game and create something that didn't exist so that they have a different option on heroics? But this seems like a pretty, I don't know, I think creative way to kind of tackle that issue of designing around another game.
The great thing about it, too, is it gives personality to Overwatch characters if they continue to do this into the future. With Diablo characters, they did a good job early on. They kind of left this as newer heroes have come out. But they made sure Diablo characters always had some sort of farming mechanic when they first came out. Either you were collecting orbs or stacks of something, Nazebo, Azmodunk, in those styles. And that made them unique outside the other universes. So cool. If every Overwatch character that comes out has 1 ultimate, sweet, bring it on. I don't even know what you do for the other guys, right? Do you make up some sort of, you know, you got Hanzo with his wolf beam and then he's got a wolf explosion? Probably just best to keep with the flavor that we know.
Yeah. So time will tell. Also, it looks like she's coming next month.
Yes. Yeah. Hot on the heels. Or actually kind of looking like before, at least the whispers on the wind say, before the release of Overwatch.
Yeah. Well, didn't we get correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we, I've been actually living under a rock of medicine and pillows. Didn't Overwatch get an official launch date?
It did.
Okay.
which was also a response to a leak. As it sort of went, well, but you messed up. Let's go.
Man, I feel bad for Blizzard this week.
Yeah, but as a gaming company, you got to deal with this stuff. It's sad, but you can't stop them. I mean, remember a lot of the drama of the original release of esports that we followed through StarCraft and whatnot with Slasher and whatnot, as those news outlets basically said, you can't stop me. This is how we're going to make money. I'm going to drive views to my site by leaking this. And it sucks and we'll get our hands slapped. But guess what? I made money.
Yep.
And that'll be on May 24th that Overwatch comes out.
Yep. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's coming in the future. It looks like we are getting big reworks in store for Tychus and Gazlowe.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about this.
Great timing to let us know that something like this is in the works for Tychus as well, because it's scary to think that Tracer is basically doing what he does better.
They're just going to give him his second health bar back and all will be fine with the world.
Sure. Actually, that's all you have to do, right? Major reworking coming. Odin's awesome again.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm not sure where they're going with this, but yeah, it's an official word from Blizzard. Next big patch will bring in some reworks for Mr. Gazlowe and Tychus.
Big patch, though, so I don't know if this is a Wednesday thing or if we'll be waiting around for one of the big piles.
Yeah, it's, quote, next big patch, so I'm assuming, I think this is going to be a Tuesday with a hero. Those larger patches that we've been seeing.
Yeah.
That come in with a hero, so.
Make an event out of it.
Yeah. Before we talk about EU regionals, let's point everyone to Yahoo's esports portal, which is a thing now.
I don't know if I've ever said, let's point everyone to Yahoo.
I can't say I've ever done that. I've been trying to point my parents away from Yahoo email.
Sure.
With no success for many years now. But yeah, they have an esports portal up, and they have a ton of Heroes of the Storm stuff already over there. So go give it a look.
They do. They actually rather heavily invested in themselves. CSGO, Dota 2, Heroes of the Storm, League of Legends, and Street Fighter 5. Heroes of the Storm seems a little dwarfed in that list.
It
I know we're
does.
still growing. We're pretty new, but hot damn to see us, competing with that kind of lineage is fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
And the articles are good. It's more of an aggregate site. They have a couple of exclusive interviews, but for the most part, they'll point you to other websites like Gosu Gamers.
yeah. Tell me about the EU regionals, Kyle. Seriously, tell me.
Well, you probably would have missed most of it anyway, because it took place in the EU, if you had gotten up early enough to see it. It's better to watch it now. There was some long breaks in between. They would often do the draft, have a break, and then do the game, come back, have a break, do the draft, and then another break. One of these breaks even going 50 minutes early on. Not all games were played on the stage, but that's something we're accustomed to from esports. You got to keep things moving. Sad to see, not every game make it up on the stage, but you got to be effective. And they were doing this for 12 hours straight on Saturday. So good job on the production team. Great production throughout. We had great casters, great analytical desks. I love having casters and then a separate analytical desk. I love the couch atmosphere that can bring as everyone hangs out and talks about the previous game. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty here, because you would have noticed that stuff if you saw it. The most involved hero, Rhaegar. Rhaegar was involved in every single game in some way. Played in 30 games and had 3 bans. Wow. Even after those changes. He wasn't always banned, though, which was cool to see. They were willing to leave some room. Seemed like the EU teams knew each other decently, so they often used that first pick to get rid of something like Stitches. Certainly later on as it went, as we got deeper and deeper into the tournament, it was Zeratul, it was Zagar every time, but Li Ming got banned quite a bit. But that left Rhaegar open to be taken, and he certainly was. Heroes that weren't used at all are Tannis, Brightwing, Diablo, Gazlowe, Kael'thas yet again, Kerrigan, Lili, Nazebo, Nova, Rexxar, poor Rexxar, Sergeant Hammer, the Butcher, and Tychus. I guess no real surprises in there.
Not really. I will say, I am still just astonished at the fall of Kael'thas.
it's bizarre. It's not hard to imagine when you think about what happens to you when something small changes, like Raynor's health for me just tanked my win rate for a couple months. Now I've come back. But losing a half second on a stun would ruin any pro player.
Yeah.
And they all just abandoned ship instead of trying to learn that up and work it out. And, you got to play to your practice, right? I don't think I'm the most amazing Zool in the world. But guess what? I played a ton of Zool for the past week, so I'd take him into Heroes League instead of something else. So those same pro players, those same carries, probably had Li Ming came out. They loved her. It was awesome to have a new burst, and that's all they played, so that's what they used.
Yeah. Thrall with the highest win rate at the EU regionals. He was in 23 games, and he had a 65.22% win rate.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's a lot of winning.
That is a lot of winning.
Sad to say, the lowest win rate hero was Uther at 16%.
I like, at this point, too, when you say his name, it just sounds like a disappointing sound effect. Uther.
Yeah. A good sock in the stomach.
Yeah, man. I miss you, Uther.
Though we did have an Arthas. Arthas was picked once, and he won for Na'Vi.
Yeah.
We also had an Azmodan, a win for Virtus Pro. A Nubrak was seen quite a bit throughout the entire weekend, not only as a counter for Cho'Gall if he got picked, but a pre-ban for teams who were thinking about going Cho'Gall. And even in one magnificent game, I gotta recommend both day 1 and day 2 of Dignitas versus My Insanity. Check out both those days. It was fantastic games on both sides. And in the second day, they baited out a Cho'Gall. They wanted the enemy to take Cho'Gall. So on their own side, they banned Leoric and Nubrak, basically saying, bring him. Like, oh, look, we don't have any counters. And then wrecked the enemy Cho'Gall with a super solid comp that had nothing to do with counters.
Wow. That's awesome.
Very cool.
I love that Cho'Gall is in the meta right now.
So clearly the motions of Cloud9 the previous weekend definitely sent some ripples, and Nubrak has a very real place in a very strange place.
That's all right. It's kind of a fun place. I like it here. Can we stay here for a little while?
I think so. I mean, Murky was picked up too. We had a Fnatic game with Murky, and they won with it. Sadly, our only Raynor and Sylvanas game were losses. A Raynor for Team Liquid and a Sylvanas for Virtus Pro.
Not surprised about losing with Sylvanas.
No, not these days, which seems bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's only one last thing to do, and that's to get really freaking excited about Azmodunk.
Well, yes.
Dude,
it took a year, but we got it.
Getting an actual Azmodunk skin. What the hell?
This is not this is a rework. This is fantastic.
I walked away from this game for not even a week. And I come back to just craziness. I'm so excited about this.
It's great. The animations are fantastic. There was a lot of love put in this skin. It is not a, shut up and take my money, and Blizzard goes, oh, fine, and gives you your minimum effort. Like, this thing is actually dunking on the recall when you hearth back, jumping around, has unique lines throughout. I love that when he shoots off his orb, he actually leaps with it, and even has the hand motion. They put some dark, and the summoned demons come out of like goalie pits and stuff with whistles blowing. Fantastic. You have to listen to jock jams when you're playing the skin.
Yes, you do. It's wonderful. And also, apparently, if you attend the Heroes of the Dorm Heroic 4 and Grand Finals, you'll get it for free. You get the hero.
Yes, you attend live.
Yeah.
And then if you do really well in the bracket challenge, like we had last year with the sort of fantasy football style, choose who's going to win which college, the top 500 will win a Lord of the Burning Court.
I love that. I love that they called it that. I love that this is a skin. I love the effort they put into it. Oh, yes. Heroes of the Dorm is back, Kyle. Welcome back.
It'll be good. Sad to see that Heroes of the Dorm is still holding back its details. Lots of people want to attend this coming up, pretty darn soon, April 12th. Looks like, yeah. And then we'll have the ESPN on March 15th or 13th. So if you want to attend this live, we're running out of time.
Yeah, why haven't they told us where the hell to go? I would like to go. That's not a cheap flight.
No, wherever it
is. We're not even sure. So hopefully we'll find out very soon. Get on it, Team 1. Come on. We need to know this stuff. And here to not tell us about that stuff, well, is some Dustin Brighter tweets.
Right. I could be wrong.
We're getting voice chat soon-ish, according to Dustin Browder.
Cool, scary, but yeah, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. I don't want it, but it's fine. It's fine. It hurts me, Garrett.
Yeah,
Now, it has very little to do with trolling. It has everything to do with one more reason why people are gonna get upset. And again, not troll, like just play, map awareness. You don't require voice chat to be good at this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Kind of wish it just wasn't being added.
I had a Muradin in one of my games yesterday who thought he was the shot caller. But we had a Sonya and a Greymane, and guess what? They were. And he was always yelling about how there was no one there. Where's my team? You know, why aren't you guys following me? But guess what? You're not landing stuns. No one's respecting the moods you're putting into this game. We're all following someone else. And that guy would be yelling in the voice chat. Sure, you silence him. You know, you got to wonder, too, like what this... I mean, we're just dudes hanging out. Like, I don't want to talk to other dudes, but what about girls, you know? That sucks. Or young kids, like actually like mature, you know, high schoolers, middle schoolers. My voice didn't drop until I was in 10th grade. And man, you'd get made fun of jumping in voice chat with something like that squeaking along.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Dustin Brighter, I guess apparently they're considering a level 5 individual hero requirement to play a hero in Hero League.
Yeah, in fact, they went on to say that level 5 might be too low, but they think it's the sanest level they can, and they know people will be excited to go day one into a serious environment like Hero League. Still working on that one.
Yeah, I think 5 might be a little low as well, but I'm just glad they're even considering this.
Right, a little something to stop people from just diving right on in. I mean, Zool released at 68%, the highest release yet again, over Li Ming's release as well. He was just fine. He was good to take into Heroes League.
Yeah. Well, let's thank our patrons before we take an email and end this. You can head on over to patreon.com/ITN right now if you enjoy the show and you want to support it. That is where you can do so. On this episode, we wanted to thank Jeremiah B., Michael, Terry Dactyl, spelt Terry, followed by Dactyl, David N., and Chris B. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on patreon.com/ITN. It goes a long way. Much appreciated. Let's take an email.
Darkness stopped calling.
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
Okay, tell them I'm not here.
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. Also, send some lozenges. I could use some lozenges.
You almost made it, man. You're doing great.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Our email today comes to us from Christian. And Christian writes, "Hello, gentlemen. I have a few questions for the podcast. 1, have you ever experienced a serious extended losing streak in Heroes? Since February 1st, I am 1-12 in Hero League and 9-34 in Quick Match for a sparkling overall record of 10-44.
Oh, my goodness.
I am so sorry, Christian. He said, needless to say, my Hero League rank has tanked from 25 to 30, and my Hot Slogs MMR has also taken a beating. My question is, how do I end this tailspin?
So my most serious losing streak happened right before BlizzCon. And that was scary because, you know, I want to be rank 1 in BlizzCon, you know? Had to work hard on that one. I fell from rank 1 down to 13, kissing the cheeks of 14.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, man. That
and a break was required.
I forgot
And in the end,
about
that's
that.
actually what it was.
It was just a break?
I had to step away. I became blind. I couldn't see what my team was doing because I was just so tilted. I wasn't being very effective. This is also, if you think about it, it's right after the Skeleton King nerf. So I was, still just doing exactly what I previously was doing, solo tanking Leoric. But now I lost all that lane clear power, among other things, as he was nerfed down. And, I'd get into lane. I wouldn't focus on getting my orb because I was just marathoning games back to back too. You always have that chance that you forget that you don't have a certain talent. This happens on Li Ming a lot. If I do more than one Li Ming game in a row and I go Calamity, guess what in game 2 I'm doing? Level 1, teleporting into people. And then going whoops and exploding.
And then you just leave them a little oops, and you don't say lag.
Exactly. But they didn't see me down there. They don't know what happened. Maybe the enemy was amazing. It's not my fault. Megamind is an okay movie, but you got to take from it the line, the best thing, what? Oh, damn it, I forgot it. But it's all about presentation. Being evil, all about presentation.
That's a deep cut, sir. Megamind. Pulling up Megamind references.
I know. It's a weird movie, right? Kind of like when they did the Cloudy a Chance of Meatballs movie. They're cute, but why were they made? I
don't know. I really like both of those movies. So
yeah, they're great, but they just
actually
don't have that thing. They're not How to Train Your Dragon. They're not Toy Story.
True. I really like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Oh, it's a cute movie, isn't it? The second one's good too.
Yeah. I think we own them both. Anyway, I think you got to do what Kyle did. I think you need to take a break. You need to walk away from it. You need to get some perspective on exactly what's going on. If you have not started critiquing your own replays, why can't I think of words? I think you probably should. This is probably a good time to take a break, watch your own replay, see what went wrong. But yeah, that's a rough losing streak there, man. I've definitely had losing streaks, but not to this extent.
But I've still continued to have losing streaks. I feel like I pay the Blizzard gods my due of 50% every couple of weeks in quick match, as I have some good weeks and then just everything else is a tank. Poor TBK. I was playing with him the other night, and we just tanked 3 games in a row. It was a double date, too, with his wife, and, man, we just couldn't pull it off.
Oof. I'm sorry.
But then I went on to win the rest of my games. And Heroes League yesterday was fantastic. Everyone needs to check out that Rexar video.
I will have to go check that out. I'm assuming things went very well for you.
To spoil it a little bit, my team went Li Ming, Murky, Abathur, and then to finish it off, what was the final pick? It wasn't a support or a tank. Oh, it was a Zagara. That was my team of 4, and I was last pick. And I go, guys, should I support or tank? And Li Ming goes, do both. So I did. I did with Rexar. I was the healer. Misha was front line, and we crushed.
That's amazing. That's so good. Christian had a follow-up question. He said, hey, I love Zagara, and I know you do too. Can you provide some tips for landing more effective maws? I typically try and maw the front line at the start of the team fight. Is this the correct approach? And B, I have mana issues with Zagara. Any ways to prevent the problem? Could my build be wrong? I think your build's probably wrong if you're having mana issues on Zagara. Because level 7, man. Rapid incubation. You will never, ever worry about mana again. I mean, other than when you need to stop to rapidly incubate. But
sure. The cooldown's great. 45 seconds. You can use this thing all the time. And I know you basically take it in every situation.
There's no reason not to. Why? I don't understand Zagaras that don't. It's just too damn good. The sustain that it provides for you is absolutely ridiculous. You can just be as greedy as you want, dropping creep tumors all the time, deploying as many roaches and hunter killers as you can, because you're not limited by mana.
Interesting. It's level 7. You're also up against battle momentum, which just exacerbates Zagara's mana problems. Right. But endless creep is in there, and that's certainly what the pros are taking 24/7.
It is really good, but I think if you're in the play field that Christian is in, I think you should just take incubation and just constantly stand on the field, just attacking.
I think that's good advice. I get very easily tilted playing Zagara, because I provide great sight. I think my creep is on point, and then no one takes advantage of it. So I would be better off going.
I am really glad you brought that up, because that's a good thing to keep in the back of your mind as well. I mean, if you're in rank 30, your team might not be able to do much with all of the awesome that you are providing for them. So it's another reason I think endless creep can be skipped. at level 7. But anyway, yeah, take rapid incubation if you're having problems, man.
One problem I find myself doing, too, is I'm a little too generous with infested drops at 50 mana each. Doing a bit of damage, but for the most part, if I'm out of lane, these roaches probably will just wander off from the team fight. And unless I'm using them to body block Stitch's hooks or something else along those lines, it doesn't seem to give me a lot of value.
Yeah, it's good for the early game just to push the lane.
But probably if you're having mana issues, you think I could drop that when I'm out of lane? Just stop casting Infested? Maybe even skip Banelings? Focus on Hunter Killer?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I don't know. I really like roaches for laning. And then also depending on your map, obviously you might be dropping them to poke and keep people off of objectives. But yeah, if you're having mana issues, I don't know. I don't know. This is all based off of, I don't know, personal habits and belief systems.
Well, because you're amazing. I mean, let's get right down to it. Like, when it comes to serious throwdown, I think that is Zagara for you.
Yeah.
So you're probably doing a lot just from practicing so much that us sort of casual Zagara players aren't really noticing.
Take rapid incubation and don't worry about not using your abilities. That's my answer.
Fair enough. So what about Maw? Because now at 120 seconds, I can get stuck overvaluing this and never casting it.
Yes. And I'm worried I'm going to do that as well now, Kyle.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Landing a good Maw, man. You need to be paying attention to the flow of movement of the enemy.
So let's say I'm fighting the usual 5-man comp with 2 melees and then 3 ranges, whether whoever support whatever. In that sort of situation, as it's coming down the lane at you, what do you maul? Do you try to get the front line and try to get everyone to go around the back, or do you try to sneak the back line by going in a crazy style?
If I think I can get the healer and anyone else, I won't go for the front line.
Okay, so you target healers more than anyone else then.
It depends. I'm not saying that's my main goal, but that's kind of like if I had a bunch of greater than, if I put together this is, what I'd like to get. Because if I can get someone in the back line plus the healer removed, it feels really nice, because then you can just, whoever you do start targeting and burning down while the Maw is up is not going to be getting healed outside of personal healing. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with taking care of the front line, but it depends on your team. You need to be able to, again, I say at level 7, forget endless creep, take incubation, because it'll just be allow you to do more, and you're not dependent on everyone else. You can land a really good Maw say you landed on the front line, which can be good if they have a double melee comp that's just you cannot get to the squishies behind them. It's fine to Maw them, but make sure that your team is going to do something with it. That you have the team that can actually move past the Maw, or they're currently in a position where they would be able to do what needs to be done. So, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to teach people how to do a good Maw, because it's a dance, and you're worried about the movement of both teams, not just your own, and not just your own movement. So you need to look where your team is. Okay, if I drop this Maw, are they going to be able to do something with it? Oh, shit, is our 5th player in the back and running to join us? He's out of position. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind.
At 120 seconds, do you cast it to save your life?
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't always work out.
I'm not sure that's the right answer, but will I cast it to save my life? Yes.
Okay. That's a good differentiation to make.
I will. Yes, I will Maw to save my own life.
Yeah, that'll be a tough choice to do. I mean, if I'm out for 45 seconds, but this thing would be up when I came back, should I just die?
Going to depend on the game you're in.
Sure, and it's hard not to panic click in those situations.
Oh, absolutely. But in a perfect world, you shouldn't be in that situation.
Right, you should be playing smartly. You should have creep giving you sight, and you're back on it with your bonus movement speed and all that sort of situation. But teams will clean up your creep. You won't always have creep forward enough to dive the enemy comp. I know my biggest problem is actually committing deep enough to get a Hydralisk onto a target that matters. I have a really bad habit of just being like, oh, there's a tank. Cool, it's in range. Here, have a Hydra.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I've been there when I'm 3 levels ahead, and it's hard not to imagine that perfect scenario where that Diablo is just feeling that Hydra, both of them, to his face. And he's going, oh, I can't, and he just dies. And then the whole team falls apart, and everything's fantastic, and you maul 3 dudes, and you put the Banelings in the drop, and you do the whole combo.
Yep.
But that's a bit of a Christmas scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing to wait for with Maw, depending on the map you're on. If you know the enemy team's going to be moving through a choke, wait to drop it in that choke. But you're going to probably have to depend on them making a mistake in that scenario where they're moving within sight of your creep or something of that nature, so you can actually see this happening and punish them for it. So, but again, you've had a losing streak. You could probably actually pull some of this weird stuff off.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm sure you could get pretty darn deep and definitely be top damage on Zagara in that league.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My Christians, I really would go rapid incubation and just constantly use all your abilities. You're gonna overload. I think a lot of the players at that rank. They're not gonna know what to do with that much damage coming out.
So you can pump it.
Pump it up.
Pump the jams for Asmo.
Put on jock jams and go Azmodunk.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Maybe all our multi-legged heroes should get some sort of sports skin.
Nah, I don't need that. That's all right.
Not soccer ball Baneling Zagara.
No,
Nope.
I don't need that.
All right, fair enough.
I don't need that. Maybe soccer. If it's like a soccer hooligan, that'd be pretty great. Anyways, I think it's going to do it for this episode. I hope everyone wasn't too put off by my voice. Big shout out to our patrons again. Thank you guys. If you like the show, if you're not a patron, head on over to patreon.com/ITN if you want to support us. Also, thank you for leaving us 5-star reviews on iTunes. Thank you to Purple Orc and Beard Howard this week. Thank you for your 5-star reviews. Keep them coming, folks. Into the Nexus is produced by AMove.tv and our Patreon producers, Declan H. and Cheesy Bob. Get our coffee mugs and pint glasses over at bit.ly/AMove store. And we'll see you next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Follow us on Twitter at ITNcast. And big thanks to BrianGriffithMusic.com for our intro music and AlphaGeekRadio.com for the mobile live stream. Kyle, where can folks find you?
You can find everything I do over at KyleFerguson.com. Follow me on Twitter at KyleFerguson. Check out my live streams every Tuesday and Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific over at twitch.tv/KyleFerguson. But really, I mean, once again, let me just highlight these games from the solo Q&A number 40. Check them out, youtube.com/c/KyleFerguson. Fantastic day in Heroes League. And the most ridiculous game I've ever played. It was fantastic.
Nice. Follow me on Twitter at GarrettArt. Lately, it's just me talking about how sick I am. Although I have a feeling tomorrow it'll be me talking a lot about Hearthstone.
Ah, yes.
And how wrong I was. I said, there's no way it's old gods. They would never do that in Hearthstone.
Wait, are they doing that?
Yeah, it totally got leaked. It got leaked as all could be. So it's going to be Whispers of the Old Gods.
I can't catch a break.
What do you mean? Oh,
just
the
all
leaking.
these leaks.
That's why I was saying, man. I assumed you knew. That was lumped
that makes
in.
me very excited.
Yeah.
I hope Shadow Priest gets some loving.
I hope so too, man. I'm right there with you. That's actually one of the places my brain took that. That'll do it. Check out the Angry Chicken. We're recording tomorrow, actually. Possibly the same time as the show today. But just follow the Angry Chicken's Twitter for more info on that. But we're going to do a show after the official reveal of the expansion that's totally going to be Whispers of the Old Gods. So
that'll be sick, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be crafting anything. I'm a bit bummed out about the wild system, but
not really.
Well, I still get to keep Jiraxis, so I am happy in many regards.
Yeah, what are you bummed out about?
Oh, just like if I were to invest myself further into some of these more recent cards, I'm going to lose them in a year's time.
Only in one format.
Right. But, it's nice to be serious.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to fight 3-minute long turns with broken mechanics.
That sounds exactly like something you would want. I've played you in Magic, you son of a bitch. I know
Only
exactly.
against my friends. Only against my friends.
I know exactly. I know exactly the type of games you'd like to play.
Hey man, the set you were using was later than mine, so if power creep is a thing, you should have beaten me.
It's not like that. Anyways, that's gonna do it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week. Good luck and have fun.
Take care.